Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tomb Raider 2. We are taking on what is honestly best described as an absolute fever dream of a level. It is notorious for people not understanding how this level fits into the actual flow of the level progressions, partially because the end of the last level, the cutscene played, Marco Bartoli stabbed himself, potentially died, got carried away by some of his cult followers, and they went through this big green archway, and we followed them. And that big green archway is just kind of behind us and up, but where on earth are we? Like, we're just floating in the void of space with weird green crystal rock floating islands. It's bonkers. It feels like a dream sequence, to be honest. And like it's just so weird. But it's not too hard a level. It's not too long. It's nowhere near the difficulty or the length of the Temple of Xian. So I guess it's just for fun. And this is kind of the last true full-length level, which you'll get to see the next couple of parts what I mean by that. But without too much further ado, I think I'll just let you experience the weirdness and wackiness of this level in its entirety. First thing we're going to do is just dip off to the left here for this small... Oh god, that's a bad start. Funnily enough, I do think it's a nice little added effect. I did want to show this at some point, so I'm glad we got it out of the way early. I think it's a nice little effect that Lara just kind of falls endlessly. Her health hits 0. I noticed a little bit of an animation towards the end of her hitting something and dying, but the like implication that these floating islands are just in the void of space and that there's actually nothing below them. I think it's a cool thing that they've tried to put across, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, our first enemy, a flying swordsman? Yeah, it's weird. It's pretty weird. And he just kind of slowly works his way around to us. They hit like a truck if they get to you. It is absolutely worth taking them out long range. They hit like a truck. And we will have to fight quite a few of the enemies in this level very face to face. Anyway, so what we really need to do here is we need to get 2 items, one of which is directly below us here. The second one is in that floating structure thing to the right. And then you can kind of see the outline of kind of a mountain-ish thing in the distance. I've got to take those 2 to there, open up a door, and that's kind of the first section of this level done. It's not as easy as that sounds, though. Actually, getting these things is a little challenging. To be quite honest, there's multiple ways you can do this. I'm just going to hit a quick save here and quickly breeze through some of the ways you could do this. The first of which is jump onto this slope, grab the edge, and land here. You can do that. You can grab this then and go on your merry way across the way. But you're going to have to loop back around on yourself then. So what I actually prefer to do is, instead of sliding down the slope, landing there, doing all that, I actually jump over it onto this little bit here. And you can actually, you just climb up on top here, and that'll get you up and over. You can kind of see the gate in the background with the kind of keyholes. You can go that way. Again, you're just going to end up looping back on yourself. So I tend to not. While you're here, you're going to need to make a little bit of a difficult angled jump here to just land inside these gates. And this switch is kind of the big thing that I need to hit, because it drops open this trapdoor, which we need for the second of the 2 keys. And without opening that, going over there is a complete waste of time. You could, at this point, if you wanted to, you could go this way. You could slide down this slope. Take a little jump at the end or you will die. And those 3 statues there with the 2 spears, 2 of them are going to activate if you go this way. We want to take them one at a time though. And there is a way to do that, and I'm going to show you because that's the way I prefer to go. Because it also means I get to take out one more guy. I'm dead. Oh, this was not a good start. It'll only take me a second to get myself back to there though, so just take a quick run without demonstrating where stuff is and where stuff goes. This is going to be a lot quicker. So we hit the switch, we open the trap door, and then what I actually wanted to do was land on this slope, and this guy just here is going to activate. We're going to let him get close enough that I can hit him. Yeah, 3 or 4 shots with the grenade launcher is enough to kill those enemies. If you had fallen down here earlier, you can just climb up here to exactly where we were when we started. But for now, we're going to take a very tricky jump, which I don't necessarily think is how the devs intended this to go, but it does play into the most efficient path. You can just barely make that. It's really, really tight. But it does get us to here where we could have taken the slope drop down that I pointed out earlier. From here, just hop over and get the first of the 2 keys, which are called Mystic Plaques, just to add a little bit more spookiness and mystery and intrigue, occultness to this whole level. From here, you can take your run and jump, you'll grab here no problem. And we're basically now where that slope would have let us out. Now, these 3 enemies are going to activate, but because we've come from this direction, they're only going to activate one at a time. So this left one activates when we're on this platform. We can take a jump back onto here. They can't fly, so they can't actually get to us across here. So we can take our time just picking away at him. And when he's down, we can jump back over. Now, the second one would have triggered from when we were on the slope. So we're going to trigger him now. And before he can get to us, we're going to jump back over to here. Wow, that was very close. I nearly over-gauged that jump. And there's 2. Now, the third one won't actually activate for another minute. I'll point out what triggers him in a second, but we're gonna... Oh, no, take a step back there, Lara. I'm gonna hop up through this trapdoor, if Lara will be so kind. Thank you. And here is our second Mystic Plaque. Standing on that, those 2 tiles that are slightly raised there are what triggers the third statue to come to life. So just grab your pickups first. And then you should be able to grab the dragon statue and dip out and through. Wasn't great. Wasn't great. Usually you can get out a lot more unscathed than that, but hopefully that will give you an idea of why I prefer to do this from a distance, because they hit like freight trains. Alright, so with the 3 of those down, we're now going to get our first secret. And I didn't point it out earlier, but you may have seen it at the very start of the level. If you did, great. If you didn't, you're going to tell me you did anyway, aren't you? But basically, just hop up here to where these cherry blossom trees are, which were also cherry blossom trees in the original. They weren't added for effect. And take a standing jump to the roof. And right over the side is the Jade Dragon. Now, actually, before I jump off this roof, I just want to show you. So, we are trying to get over to there. We can try to find our way back over there, climb over the like golden caged walkways, but where we actually kind of have to go here now, because there's no direct way back over there, is we're going to have to jump along these green floating islands. But we can't actually get to this first one from where we are at the moment. So the sneakiest thing that ever did sneak, and by that I mean you have to drop off the side of this platform here to catch this ledge, which I don't really know how you would ever have thought that that would be there. But under here there's a switch, it opens the gate behind us, and that allows us to begin our platforming section. Oh no. Oh, how far back is that going to send me? Probably a really annoyingly distance. Yeah, okay. I'll be back in a minute. Okay guys, we are back where we were. We're not going to fail that jump this time. Don't know what it was. I must have just released jump too early. This is a fairly tight, tricky platforming section that is gonna, I think it tries to fake you out in that you can make this jump just about, but you actually can't make this next one. It's just too far, which I'll demonstrate. Oh no, never mind, you can. I've been lied to my entire life. I used to always go up that, down that, and across, but apparently you can make that. Huh. Disregard everything I've said in the past 30 seconds. But anyway, we're going to continue up, just climbing. And now this is probably the weirdest bit of the lot. There are 2 enemies up there. And they won't activate when we jump across here. They won't even activate if we go all the way up to them. They won't activate if we put the keys in the locks. They're just going to stay like that. The way that they actually activate is if you had decided earlier that you were going to climb over this whole come on, if you had decided you were going to climb over this caged walkway and come down this way, they would activate one after the other, and you'd actually end up fighting 2 here, because you're unlikely to realize that you stand on this, he activates, and then you get to about here, the second one activates, and by that point it's already too late. They're both already coming. But if you had climbed up this way, up and over, you would have had to go back on yourself anyway, because you wouldn't have both of the mystic plaques. So I just wanted to demonstrate how they activate, why they activate. You can just ignore them. You don't have to kill them. You can just leave them in their statue form and move on. But I wanted to demonstrate. They're now dead. I'll get the pickups. You can get the pickups anyway. Them being statues doesn't prevent you from getting these pickups. Might be a little awkward, and Lara might make some weird noises, but you absolutely will be able to pick them up. And now we'll put our mystic plaques in. It's annoying that they aren't distanced enough that you can just take 2 side jumps into them. Alright, so the door is open and we have this absolute hellfire temple of whatever you want to think of that. We are going to trigger. There is an enemy who comes up from down here somewhere. If I can just get him to head on him. You can hear him. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And then there are some pickups over in this corner, which are very easy to miss. And then, before we go any further, we're going to get our second secret. You can see it quite easily from this bridge. It is just right over there. There's no way to jump to it from here. Also, these temple doors with the big dragon face on them do not open. The way to get the secret is actually to follow the direction of the cherry blossoms. So it's a little bit of a tricky jump here to get up and over this slope, but there is a little hidden passageway behind here. And at the very end is your silver dragon. And from here you can just hop back out, follow it back, and hop back out the other side. 'Tis as easy as that. None of the secrets in this level are particularly difficult to get. You just have to know that they're there. Ooh, whoops. Ooh, nearly overshot that. Right, we have a big green boulder here. It doesn't activate from this side. We need to get past it. You can't really run past it. You have to jump over it. But as soon as we jump over it, it's going to start rolling after us. So I, personally, prefer to backflip over it, hit the slope, slide down, and then just jump backwards and grab, and it'll sail right over your head, followed by a second one that came from the opposite direction. That's really sneaky. So if you decided to take the jump forward when you got to the bottom of this slope, you'd jump right into the way of another boulder, which is just infuriating if that happens to you. Which is why we went down backwards and why we grabbed the edge. Make sure not to climb up too early though. If that boulder is still moving and you try to climb up, it will still kill you. Now, this is one of the hardest jumps in the game. If you undershoot this, you're dead, and it's very easy to undershoot. We need to make the jump so that we land on that inclined platform. We'll slide down it and we'll grab the ledge, shimmy across to the right, climb up, get to the zip line. But that initial jump to get onto this is really tight. If you're too far to the left, Lara will not grab that. She'll just fall. If you're too far to the right, Lara will not make it to the slope. You will undershoot the jump. So it's very, very tight to get that right. Anyway, from here, this is a bit of a trapped zip line in some ways. If you take this and you don't let go early, you will be cartoned off to your death. There's a gate at the very end of it that the zip line will hit and you'll just fall. So you need to let go early to land on this little bridge. It's going to make a thunk noise as it hits the gate there, and you would get dropped off it into the abyss. In here, we're going to have a bad time. We have 3 statue enemies to deal with. We are only going to have one of them trigger first. But the problem here is that the other 2 trigger when we pull that switch. Which means we're standing literally right on top of them when they activate, which makes this extremely difficult to get out of. Oh, whoa, we're in trouble. Okay, yeah, like they hit hard. They hit extremely hard. There we go. Okay. That's that taken care of. We can move on. We have another zip line here that just hold action and Lara will just grab the climbable wall on the other side. And then just climb on up to the very, very, very top. So needless to say, this level's already presenting as kind of weird, kind of unusual, a little bit out there. But I love to tell you that it's only going to get more weird. Once we get through this second section here, it gets, yeah, you really start scratching your head. So, now, we're going to pop down here. This enemy up the top, which is where the zipline went by, is going to activate, but we're going to take care of him before he becomes a problem. All for a small medipack. But just to give you a little bit of context, there's the top of the zipline. There's where the boulders were. We could have slid down there and landed here, but it would have been no use to us because we needed to get that switch. So we needed to take the zipline to the bridge in order to get access to that switch, because from here it's not really possible to get back up and around to where that switch is. But anyways, we're going to hop up here, and in order to get back around to that zipline, which you may have seen the gate opening, I may have actually skipped out of it, that switch between the two statues opened that gate that the zipline stops at. So now we can actually, oh, come on, up and over, Lara, there you go. Now we can take that zipline the whole way. But now we need to make this jump again. So I'm going to hit a quick save so I don't mess this one up. It's easier to do than you'd think. Yeah, there we go. Right, now we're going to ride this zipline all the way to the bottom, and we're going to start the final third of this level. So you want to hold it to the very, very end. If you let go too early, which is perfectly something you'd want to do, you will slide down this slope all into the lava, so don't let go too early. We're going to turn around and go back into this big room, which is absolutely mental. There's fire on the walls. There's spinning discs everywhere. It's honestly, it's an absolutely bonkers room. You have enemies coming out of the walls. Then there is a second one that we need to trigger by just jumping over here. And yes, there's this weird crevasse in the fire? I don't get it. I don't pretend to get it. But once they're taken care of, we can move on. So this is a movable block, and we're just gonna use it here now in a second. We're going to use it to get to a platform that is just above us. But we're also going to need to use this block again later. So I just want to get into a nice position so that later on I don't have to spend ages pushing it. So we're going to hop up here. And then you may be able to see as we push this. This here to the left is just going to drop. You might have just caught it out of the side of your eye there. That block just dropped straight down. So we're going to go and have a look at that. So basically, that dropped it straight down into this gap and lets us access... Well, lets us drop down onto it so that we don't immediately die. And there is a switch in here, which, weirdly enough, opens some trapdoors in the middle of the fire. As if this couldn't get any weirder. But anyway, that is precisely where we're now going to go. Which is going to need us to go back up here. can grab these while we're up here. And you can see here that there is the trapdoors. Now there is also this little ledge that you have, so you can jump onto those trapdoors too early and have no way of getting back. You have to jump across to that and sidle the whole way back across. This is a bit of an awkward jump. It's cool as all hell to do, but I have to get it right. You have to take a swan dive. A normal jump will not get you there. It has to be a swan dive. It gives you the extra little distance, and it's cool as anything to do that through that trapdoor. Grab your shotgun shells and swim up into a room with fire on the roof. And weirdly enough, the fire doesn't hurt you if you jump up into it. I don't get it. I really don't understand why. That's going to open a gate back in that main room. And that's our next target. So the only way out is to go under here. It's going to let us out into this room, which has a load of swinging blades. But thankfully, we can actually just turn them off. I think they are on a timer though, so we do still need to move. It's quite a long timer from what I understand though. We just need to be careful not to walk into the spinning discs. And we're back out here. And we do need to go back out into this main room because we need to move this block again. Because this block is going to allow us to get in through that doorway that the gate opened. So we're just going to need to take a running jump through here. And now we've got a locked gate on our left, a switch ahead of us, and a hell of a lot of instant death below us. So just make sure to hold action when you jump, because you'll bounce back off that wall if you don't. And all this switch does is just open that gate that was just back here. But it's very, very easy to die here. If you hit your head, you'll just bounce straight back and immediately fall into the spikes, so just watch out for that. Now, this is where things get a little funky. We have two gates, two statues that will activate, but much later on, and this big pit. The pit's the only way to go. I recommend stepping off this backwards here, because the slope will allow you to grab the bottom and not take damage. But we are now in a cage with a load of Bartoli's goons around us. So I'm going to hit a save here because this gets pretty dicey. Hit your switch and the cage shall open and you will be tossed into a 4v1. Really got to be careful about your jumping because it will be instant death if you fall into the lava, which is a little moat all the way around. And you also want to make sure you don't step off this, and you don't want to step off this slightly raised area that was encaged, because all of these statues will activate if you step off. So with those 4 enemies dead, they all drop pickups. But I need to take care of these enemies first. So we take a jump across, it's going to start activating, and then we're going to take a jump back. The one on the far side will also activate, but we can just hop up to here to take them out at our own leisure. dip around to the far side to trigger this guy so you go for a stroll. This will take a little bit of time, but it's better to do it this way, I feel, than try to take on all 4 of these one-on-one. You saw how tough it was just fighting 2 at the same time earlier. So taking the easier path with these kind of enemies, I genuinely think is always the better option. Okay, so with that done, we can activate this next one, who's only going to activate when we get really close to him, which is fine. Then we just hop up and we do exactly the same thing again and take our time with it. Okay, and that's 3. And the last one here, I actually don't think I'm not gonna mess around with. I'll be able to take him like so. Now, time to go pick up sticks. So every single one of these goons will drop some pickups. And thankfully they all died fairly close to each other, so I can pick them all up fairly easily and I don't have to go running around the room. So all 4 of them drops, which is great. It's a nice reward for such a demanding arena. And there is a switch behind each of the sides here. That one opens a door back up in that main room. And the other one, which is on the far side here, just make sure to watch out for those motes of flame. I have accidentally fallen into them so many times. That activates the gate out of here. Now, make sure you have something handy because there is an enemy at the very top of this. And again, he also drops stuff. And then there will be some grenades just here. Right, now we just get to follow the staircase back up to the main room. But this door is still going to be locked from earlier because the one that opened was the other gate. This is the one that was flanked by the 2 statues who are now going to activate. Actually, I'm really low on health, so let me just top that up. Oh, that's close to death. There we go. So that's the 2 of them taken care of, and they hit, like, they just hit so hard. They absolutely take you to task. Anyway, with all that said and done, that is the last of those enemies. We have a tricky little climbing section here where we need to do our favorite old thing that we were only introduced to last level. That is jump, twisting, and grabbing. But this time it's above some fairly dangerous spikes and fire. I don't really know why the spikes and fire are there. Talk about just being like double danger, but kind of unnecessary. But either or the other would have done the job. You get this kind of cool downward angle here. You just want to climb until the red tiles. Oh, I nearly let go. I didn't mean to do that. And again, twist and grab and climb up. Then we're going to do our favorite old trick with 2 slopes. That I think the last time we did this was in the Ice Palace. We're just going to jump back and forth to get ourselves back over to here. And then take care of this guy before he becomes a problem. No, don't stand in the way of it. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. It's just narrowly missing us. So that's the last enemy of the level. We are literally at the end. We can take this zip line down into that little doorway, and that is the end of the level. But you might have realized we're a secret short as well as 9 pickups. And that's why we're not going to go straight for the exit there. We have our last secret to get. So we just need to take a running jump over to here. And then jump over this slope here. And from here you can see that there's actually a little tunnel under that little lip. And that's precisely where we are now trying to go. So take a step back off here. You can hold action. It'll make you land a little better. It won't grab anything, but it'll keep you tight to the wall. And then just take a run and jump over to here. Hit a flare because it's extremely dark in here. And just follow this around. And you will now see that we have kind of looped back around on each other and are now above the bridge where we opened the big doors with the mystic plaques. So the second secret was actually just over there to the left. So here's our third one. We get it plus 8 grenade packs, which leaves us with a full count of 39 pickups on all 3 of our secrets. So now we just need to work our way back around. This flare may or may not last me the whole way back. Oh yeah, we're fine. And all we need to do from here, it is a little bit of a tricky jump. I'm going to save because I don't want to do all that again. Just take a jump across and immediately jump back and you'll land on this little lip and you can jump straight into there. You can also have a quick look here. There's not a whole lot going on. The fire does not hurt you. I think it's hilarious how it doesn't. But basically just take a little jump, a little hop into this doorway and you're done. Shinee, level complete. And that was Floating Islands. An absolute fever dream of a level. I don't know how better to describe it. It's so confusing why it's here. It's so confusing how it's laid out with the weird fire, temple, jade statues, and yeah, it's just a mental level overall. But yeah, we're going into kind of our final 2 levels now. And neither of them are kind of really long full levels, so I'll probably do both of them in one video to finish this out. So this is me signing off for the penultimate time for this playthrough. So until then, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you again real soon.